Be careful on that. I created this blend in this particular time because we need to go through a renaissance of wellness, where the future of wealth is wellness. As you're seeing every other community trend, they're trending this way: run clubs, workouts, etc. Right? People are more focused on their health because it's the one thing that they can't control. Unfortunately, in my community, we don't focus on it enough. I love to see it in everybody else's community. I love to see it in anything because obesity has trended way too high: diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety disorders, mental issues. These have trended in other communities. I've been literally preaching, teaching, and selling nootropics and adaptogens for the last 10 years in front of you all before it became a trend. Why? Because in the age of AI, it's not the next technology that you're looking to update. It's your brain. You're going to need to have a sound body and mind to deal with the world that is to come. And one of the hardest things in the world is to be calm, right? In a world full of chaos. And you're going to need that to be in flow to deal with what's happening in this world. I need you all to pay attention. So when we push this cognitive renaissance, it is directly in correlation because of what I'm saying. Because if you can get the people to live back into harmony, right, and you can get them out of the news cycles and out of the cycle, right, of overconsumption, and you get them existing in their correct substance and harmony with self, then you're already fixing problems at a root. We need to trend wellness much higher in the culture than it ever has. It needs to dominate every space. It needs to permeate every corner. It needs to exist on our timelines at all times. We cannot allow the liquor company who spends $2 billion marketing to our community consistently. Most people look at Diddy and they think that the worst things he did was the freak-offs and the individual abuse cases that he had. That's not it. The worst thing he did was sell so much liquor to our community and get funded to party and distract us. That was the worst thing he did. Ciroc was the worst thing he did. And it ended up being the very thing that took him down in the first place. Imagine if that was a functional mushroom coffee that focuses on stimulating the mind, because coffee houses were the spaces of revolution and renaissance in earlier periods of time when we would come together and we would have stimulating conversations, right? Being energized in the mind to talk about politics and finance and astronomy and philosophy. The most dangerous thing that the celebrities are doing is that they're poisoning you with their capitalism. At a time where you need to be operating at your best. And one day I see the ladies are saying they need to check mammograms for ladies to see if you got lumps in your breast so that you don't have breast cancer. But then the next thing, they're going to take an ad from an advertiser that will be selling you the same poison that they're saying they're trying to help you come from. So, ladies, we need a revolution in wellness, because even though, right, the cancer is not as prevalent in black women, you have 40% more fatality because you're not getting the same services as other women. Black men have the highest health disparities of any group. So when it comes to our culture, we have to save it. You have to save yourself, though, with your own daily rituals. This is one of mine. You can stop vaping when you replace it with something else that gives you that same stimulation that vaping is feeling. The vaping becomes a void. You have what you call hypofrontality. Now, I want to have a heated discussion with somebody who is a scientist, and as scientists, me and him have a difference of opinion. Some of you all may have seen the commercial for this. I haven't dropped it on my page yet, but it will be coming out soon. Now, one thing he noted that only 10 to 20% of people are ever addicted, even to hard drugs. That addiction is not what we actually think it is. So you're not really addicted to the vaping, and that's what you first need to know, right? What it is that you trying to figure out how to replace the feeling and the stimulation that vaping does to you, right? And a lot of times, you have to start slow, but you also have to give yourself a good reason. See, a lot of people, when they first started doing things like colloidal gold, or they started taking Alliance Man and the cordyceps, they felt so stimulated that when they was going to go pick up the vape, or they was going to go smoke the cigarette, or they was going to go, do whatever they was doing, they had the ability to say no because they already felt that stimulation that they was getting was already coming from within. So they didn't need another external source. Oftentimes things are hard to quit because we need something to replace them with because our body feels an imbalance when we get rid of one habit, right? So vaping is probably another one of the bigger issues. And then this is something that we're working on in the Supermind labs is our Mullein compound that can replace the vapes. Mullein is something that actually stimulates your lungs and help detoxes and cleanses them. So once you get some of that Mullein in there, replacing it, because everything that we do wants to be an alternative, right? Our generation is not drinking as much liquor, but we are vaping more than ever, and it's messing up your lungs. And when you messing up your lungs, you're messing up your very breath and your very spirit. So then it throws off your nervous system. So now you have more anxiety than ever. And so now the very thing that was supposed to calm your anxiety is actually making it worse. And then it puts you in a perpetual cycle. See, that's where things like fitness come in. Fitness comes in and it helps strengthen and rewire your brain. And I'm talking about specifically with, weights, high intense workouts, right? Drinking water, being around other people, all of those things that vaping is feeling, a lot of times it's the loneliness, right? It's the repressed feelings. You have to get to the root of the problem to address it. Otherwise, you will continue to need a Band-Aid to cover it up. I'm going to be honest with Mullein. I take the Mullein teas. I got the dry plants as well. I even smoked Mullein before. I tried it in all forms. The problem with the things that we sell is not that we're selling it and making some money. It's that we're not taking that extra step to make our products healthy. There's ways that I think you can sell hookah and make it healthy. Same way I think you can sell coffee and make it healthy. You understand me? The problem is that we're not taking that extra step because we don't care. So no, I don't want you jumping off of, liquor and then going to vaping, and then you vaping, you're doing the pills. If it ain't the pills, you're doing the lean. Because how many crackhead rappers had y'all on the lean? And we never wanted to admit that these guys were addicts. And that's why I had this conversation with the scientists who've done these studies about addiction, is that you can't be compromised and give us the research. And so on one part, it's empowering to understand that our communities have become the face of a lot of drugs because they wanted to police our communities. So when they attacked those drugs, it gave them the excuse to attack us. And so on the other hand, I love the idea that, yes, we should be focusing on that. You're probably not addicted. You're just not dealing with the root of your problem that make you want to utilize this substance that makes you feel good. Again, what's going to help that vaping is replacing it. You ask yourself why. That vaping makes you feel good. It makes you feel stimulated, get a dopamine hit. People eat more junk food when they don't get enough sleep. So we got to go to the root of it. Shit legit is legit. I promise you, try this. Try you some Supermind. You wake up in the morning, you take that Supermind. You understand me? You have a full coffee. It's the smoothest, but it's going to energize you. And tell me if you want to vape after that. Because what's going to happen is when you go towards the vape, you're going to realize, wait a minute, I already feel good. I don't need it. So what you're doing is, and this is the whole part of the Supermind Labs, is we're testing things that can replace your current habits and rituals with better ones. And now that I realize that vaping is such a big issue, I definitely will be going on that and we'll be doing some research into something that is specifically just addressing vapors. So we have a cognitive ritual stack that we will be giving to the people, you know what I mean? So you can understand, you know, some of the things that I do, some of the breath work, the meditation, you know what I mean? In order to induce that cognitive state of clarity in the morning, because what most people have is they have a glymphatic system problem. That glymphatic system is, how many of you all have felt fogginess in the morning? So when you wake up and you're feeling foggy, it's because, you know what I mean, plaque is built up in your brain, right? The same way plaque can build up on your teeth, you don't brush them, you don't floss them. Well, plaque builds up on your brain as well, in between the ridges of your brain. So the question becomes is how do you clean them out? Because these become neurotoxins. That's why if you don't get sleep, you can actually literally die from this. So in deep sleep, your brain goes through a process. It activates cerebral brain fluid. The cerebral brain fluid starts to secrete a liquid that washes your brain. Literally washes your brain. I'm going to do a full video breakdown on this subject, just only on YouTube. But it starts washing your brain. So you literally get brainwashed at night when you go to sleep. Now, if you don't get deep enough sleep, then those neurotoxins are still there and you wake up. And if you're like me, I'm hypointeroceptive to where I literally can feel when my brain, right, has not been properly cleaned. So a lot of people heard of your lymphatic system, but you don't even heard of your glymphatic system. And so your lymphatic system is like your sewage system of your body that can clean out toxins. And if it gets too clogged, then you get sick. Because that system needs to continue to flow. But it's the same thing with your brain. So there's areas back here that you can massage, that can activate it. Right? And then there's breathing exercises that you can do that can activate it. There's inversion that you can do, which is essentially sitting upside down for like 20, 30 minutes. High intense workouts that you can do to activate it. Red light therapy that you can do to activate it. All right? So if you start practicing some of these things, then throughout the day, you're able to get rid of that fog within that first hour, even if you didn't get the proper amount of sleep. You can do aerobic exercises to help activate it. Jumping up and down, like with a jump rope, helps with that. So if you're starting that first hour of the day, just focusing on clearing you up, you're not going to be so stressed out the rest of the day and have anxiety where you don't want to deal with people. So I used to deal with that bad. I used to wake up and I used to feel foggy brain and my brain used to feel dyslexic. You understand me? So that's why I started looking for remedies that could help me. And that's why I love lion's mane, because lion's mane is another one of those things that actually help with the brain, right? Electrify stimulus within the brain, neurons sheath, you know what I mean, on the axons of the neuron, which essentially means that it allows electricity to flow from one end to the other. So as your brain changes, right, and goes through different processes, some of the processes as you get older, like you in your late 30s, sometimes it goes through a pruning process. That pruning process is essentially your brain getting rid of, right, things that you don't use. So I say, hey, you start off when you're young, you have billions of prunes in your brain, right? These are connections that your brain can make if you activate them and stimulate them. Some people say that autism is having too many prunes, you know what I mean, connected. But as you go in age, this is why you feel more like yourself. You know what I mean? Because it's stripping away a lot of those things of like learning and finding self, and it's just left you with what you know.